Welcome back. Today I'm going to give you a video comparing the artillery hold versus a gun rest. In this video I'll be using a break barrel, which is the Gammo Swarm Fox 22 cal. Be using the Craftsman Premier 14.3 grain hollow point pellets at 25 yards. And as you noticed here, I got this is a string line level mounted on my barrel because I wanted to make a constant against each other comparison. So what I did was I made sure that this bubble level was centered as possible when shooting from bags, using the artillery hold with the bag underneath my hand, and from a gun rest, making sure the gun rest was centered as possible also to the target, to my point of impact. So let's go ahead and show you the shooting clip here. 10 shots of each. Didn't clean the barrel this time. Just wanted to see what happened and see why they say you should never use a gun rest for a break barrel air rifle. So let's get into it. Okay, so at 25 yards, not too bad. The gun rest really opened up big time, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. But overall group was about 3 inches center to center from the farthest shots. Overall group from the artillery hold, farthest shots, was about 2 inches. Now the 5 best shots here for the gun rest was about 1 inch group center to center. The 5 best shots, actually the last 5 shots I shot with the artillery hold, or hunting hold I should say, that I use, was less than ½ an inch, right around 3/8 of an inch center to center. As you can see though, there at 25 yards, the artillery hold definitely proved that it's superior to the gun rest with a break barrel. Now let me tell you why. Now if you've gotten into air guns, or you've been into air guns, you've heard so many times not to use a gun rest for a break barrel because it's just not accurate. Your shots will be all over the place, as shown. Well, let me show you why. So again, mentioning that I used a line level, bubble level, to get my barrel as linear, collinear to my point of aim as possible and centered. I also made my target, my crosshairs where I was aiming, vertically centered too. So the only thing I had to move, which was horizontal to my next target to shoot. As you can see, that's probably why my shots are just a hair to the right of my target, because I had to actually move to the left when I was shooting. But the reason why a lot of people say to never use a gun rest is because it's not accurate. But to dig deeper into that, with all the variables constant here, the barrel being linear as possible, collinear as possible to my point of aim, where my scope reticle lined up with my target. This barrel, when you're shooting, as you heard me mention before, you want to find the balance point of the rifle. Well, that's the balance point of the rifle. That's not the balance point of the rifle when it is in action, when it's fired. So that changes because of the spring action, the double recoil. You pull the trigger, it goes back, then the spring bottoms out up here and knocks it back down. So that's why I wanted to test in this video and show you that I centered the barrel as possible as I could get to my target horizontally and vertically. So shooting off a rest like that, where there is no support except right here, like you would typically hold it, there is actual, support there, but you don't have grip. You just set it down. Whereas my artillery hold, I put equal grip, strength, or pressure at both points here, like I mentioned in my previous tips and tricks video about shooting break barrels and why they aren't that accurate at all. There is nothing on this except it's just dead weight. It's just gravity holding it down. So when you shoot, it's just bouncing everywhere. I mean, I know that that's exaggerating, but it's like a diving board. The tip of this barrel, basically at the end of it, when it fires, it's like a diving board. It just keeps bouncing. And that goes to show here why all those shots are just vertically all over the place. But then once it got dialed in, once the pellet got seasoned to those vibrations, you can see it tightened up significantly, whether it was the rest or my artillery hold. As you can see, it started out opening up, then they tightened up at the end. Both methods of holds, whether it was a gun rest or artillery. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, that you hear this stuff, you shouldn't do it, but why shouldn't you not do it? Or what can you do to prevent it from happening if you study the gun? So if you see your gun doing that, doing something like this downrange, whether it's the group that looks like this from the gun rest or the group looks like this from the artillery hold, you can figure out why it's doing that. So again, the gun rest itself, there is no support of this gun. It's just sitting there like that. It's just doing this and that. Even though it was centered vertically, as you can see, all those shots are pretty close to that line vertically. Centering the gun vertically, you could see there, all the shots were just vertical up and down, just bouncing. But here, the artillery hold, my shots are just a hair to the right of the target because I had to move myself to the left to hit this point of aim. So I just wanted to share my findings with you guys and show you a way to figure this out. I mean, I could have done a scope attachment to where I could see if my gun is level or not, but that doesn't show anything if the barrel is not centered to your target at all. If you got barrel droop and all that good stuff, I wanted to do it to the barrel to see if I can, make another constant in my mind to make sure I'm doing everything I possibly can. Again, like I said, the gun rest does not add pressure. Another thing is, if you're shooting with bags without having a hand underneath your forearm, you're still not adding that pressure to it. And again, if you're sighting your gun in like that, and if you're sighting it in to be a rifle that you're going to use out in the field, whether you're hunting or whatever the case may be, you're going to be probably using an off-hand hold with both hands. You're not going to have a shooting stick or a rest or anything underneath it. Now, if you're having a rest, you might want to, or a shooting stick, you might want to sight your gun in with that. But if you're going to be shooting it just with your hands out in the open, that's probably the way you should sight it in. And that's what I've been doing lately with pretty much all my rifles. If I'm hunting or something like that, if it's just going to be a bench gun, sight it in with your bags or gun rest. Because I could see potential with the gun rest, as I said, that the group tightened up after a couple shots, I believe it got used to the vibration. So the pellet got used to that vibration going down the barrel, and it just filled in the lands and grooves at that vibration, and it shrunk it down. Same way with the artillery hold. The barrel was getting used to the vibrations and finally settled in after 5 shots. As you can see, the last 5 shots got tightened up. So if you're not shooting a certain amount of shots, you probably wouldn't notice that either. Again, I was shooting 10 shots out of this gun, so if you're buying just a single shot, break barrel, you wouldn't notice that if you never shot 10 shots or more. So that's another tip I can give you guys, is shoot more and figure out what it's doing. If it's doing the same thing over and over and over and over, then stop and try something different. So anyways, I just wanted to share my findings with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, this Gammo Swarm Fox 22 cal doesn't disappoint, especially with my holding technique that I found of equal pressure. And even though, like I mentioned, the barrel or the gun itself is balanced right here, it changes once it's fired. So it's either going to go back, up, or down, especially if you're not at the right angle. If you're not zeroed or centered, your gun's not centered to your target. If it's down, the gun's going to shoot it down because of the piston bottoming out. But if it's up, it's going to probably either, depending on how much pressure you have, it's either going to go up or down. So, alright guys, that's it. I appreciate you watching. I hope you get something from this video. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again.